We come back home and report on matters of the COVID-19 because COVID-19 is rocking families, crumbling health facilities and businesses. One pillar that is relied upon in trying times like this is the media. They are in the forefront in the fight against the spread of the virus. Of recent, the Gambian media was hit with a heavy rock when it was announced that staff of one of the country's biggest television station tested positive of COVID-19. And Sumana Eso Nyasi works for a national television, QTV, and he is one of those from the broadcasting institution who have been tested positive and taken to treatment at a local hotel. Now, Eso Nyasi joins us on the line to explain how it feels living with the virus. Well, Mr. Nyasi, thank you very much for joining us. Now, can you tell us when you knew that you had the COVID-19?
Well, thank you very much, Ahmad, for having me on this platform. I have to say that I got to know about my COVID-19 status after, we had a case at the office. One of our colleagues contracted the virus, and we took a voluntary test, and it came out a week after that. I also, contracted the virus. So I turned out to be positive, and since then, I have been receiving treatment.
All right. We understand that you waited for a number of hours to know your status. And how does it feel waiting for so long to know the outcome of your test?
It is not a nice experience, Amadou. I think it has been one of the most difficult experiences that I have had since the start of this pandemic. The fact that you have to wait for a week to know your status alone is quite traumatizing. And I have to say that this is something I think the ministry, government through the ministry should really work on to ensure that people get to know about their status as soon as they take the test. I know in other neighboring countries, once you take the test, it takes hours or maybe even 30 minutes. Unfortunately, for our case, it's a completely different story. And luckily for me, what I did, as soon as I was informed that we had a case, who was very close to all of us, I decided to self-isolate. I've been doing that for over a week, even before I got to know my status, even before I got to take my test. So I've been doing that, and I want to believe that is also what saved me and saved my family.
All right. Now what was your family and friends' reactions upon hearing the news that you are positive of COVID-19?
Unfortunately, it wasn't nice. The reaction really was one of fear, one of concern, and one of disappointment as well. But I have to say I am very thankful to have family and friends, that are very much open-minded, and they understand issues. They know that the kind of job that I do, it's obvious that I am one of those who are at risk of contracting this virus. So as a result of that, when this post happened, I spoke to my wife about it first. When we had this case at the office, and I told her that I would be self-isolating. It was difficult, but I had to do it. And so when my results came out, unfortunately for my parents and some of my family members, and including my friends, and even myself, I got to know about it online first before I was even called to say your result is out and you're positive. And that really I found very, very, it was a very painful experience. I was so disappointed. And I think it's something that the ministry should be wary of, because people are fond of leaking information and it's not helpful. I had my family members calling me and asking me, when me that is the victim I didn't even know that my results came out positive, and I think that is not really the way forward. It's something that should stop.
Indeed, I know it has been a very tough moment for you, of course, like many others as well. Now, what type of treatment you have been going through as well since you were under treatment?
Well, to be honest with you, there's not been anything like treatment. The only treatment that I and some other people have been receiving, came from our office. It's been the support of the office. The management has been very supportive. They facilitated for us to be lodged at a local hotel. And they provided us with provisions, food, medication. Everything that we needed was provided for by the office. So on the side of treatment, because we all know that coronavirus has no cure. So once you contract the virus and you start having symptoms here and there, if you complain of headache, they give you, painkillers. If you complain of joint pain or anything, they give you at least something that would, kind of kill the pain. But there's really no cure or anything like treatment. All they have done is to make sure that we are isolated. Our movement is being restricted. We are not interacting with anybody. Apart from that, there is no treatment or anything that has been given to me. I am not aware of my colleagues also receiving anything from either the ministry or anybody. No, apart from what we've received from the office. But I have to say that two of the nurses who, were there with us really have been working very hard to ensure that with the little that they had at their disposal, we were given the care that we needed. But in terms of providing us with, material support, we did not get that. All that we received came from the office.
Well, that might have come as a surprise, is it not, considering the situation of the COVID-19?
Amadou, I am angry and I am sad because of what I have seen while I was there. I feel that our nation is sinking, all because of ignorance, all because of people's greed and selfishness, all because of politics, and it should go beyond that. Also, the ministry. I don't know who is responsible for coordinating all of these things, but they have a lot to work on. Honestly, the way things are done is not organized at all, and what saddened me most, in fact, let me give you this scenario. One of my colleagues complained of headache for 3 days. He was not even provided with even PCM, paracetamol. So you can imagine that it took like 3 days, and we have to facilitate that from outside for him to be able to get that medication, which really is quite disheartening. I think there are many things that we are not being told. There are many things that they are keeping away from the public. They are not telling us, and I think they should come out plain and say it. So that if it is about support, people that and the organizations and countries that have the support can come forward and help us. But to act like everything is fine, we are not okay, we are not fine. People are dying every day and nothing is being done about it. And what saddens me most is the fact that Gambians are still denying that this exists. You won't know until you contract the virus and you go through all that pain, then you know it is real.
Yeah, absolutely. That looks and sounds very serious, as you were explaining there. Again, I will ask, as you know, probably that many Gambians are still in denial of COVID-19. But as someone who has experienced the disease or this virus, what's your message to them?
My message to all Gambians is simple. For every life that we lose as a result of this virus, me and you that is denying that this virus does exist, we have in one way or the other contributed to that. Now, what is more painful than seeing a colleague lying on a hospital bed struggling to breathe? Imagine when you contract this virus, extreme headache, you lose appetite. You lose you don't take the scent, whatever food you're given or whatever. You have joint pain, you have body pain, you have serious cold. All of this pain, including the stigma, your family is worried. Imagine your colleagues are worried. It's painful. It's not a nice experience. You go through so much pain, and it hurts me when I hear people say this virus doesn't exist in this country, because I have been through it. I am living it. I know how it feels. Imagine not being able to, interact with anybody. You're being isolated. You feel like you're a prisoner. Imagine being kept at one place for complete 2 weeks. You cannot interact with anybody. You cannot go outside. You cannot step out of the room.
Yeah.
This is painful. It's very, very painful. And I hope people will start taking this serious.
Yeah, it is.
I don't wish for anybody to get this virus. But,
indeed,
it's painful.
Yeah, indeed, it is painful, we know. But just lastly, Eso, as a journalist, you contracted the virus in line of duty. And now, what do you think the government's approach in the fight against COVID-19 should be henceforward?
Well, for me, I think there should be a lockdown, especially of the Greater Banjul area. Government has to do this. But again, Gambians, we have a bigger role to play than even government. It is one thing to institute all of these regulations, but to ensure that the successful enforcement of these regulations happens, it is up to Gambians, because we don't have to be forced to adhere to these regulations, because it is for our own good, it is for our health, it is for our own health. To protect our families and to protect ourselves. Let us adhere to these regulations. Government should institute a lockdown of the Greater Banjul area and let them come out and tell us the truth, because I am going to tell you this point blank, they are not telling us the truth.
All right, so Nyansi, many thanks for joining us, and of course, stay strong, and we wish you a speedy recovery. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ansumana Eso Nyansi, of course, one of the journalists contracting the COVID-19 in the Gambia, and he works for QTV television. And once again, many thanks for taking your time and talking to us on this news bulletin. And once again, we wish you a very speedy recovery and get well soon, colleague.